Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing Helm's Deep version 3.4. This is a deck I've played on the channel before in previous iterations, and I'm just going to quickly explain it to you now for those who haven't watched the previous videos. Essentially this deck is trying to win either with Helm of Obedience, with either Lane on the Void or Dathi Voidwalker in play, so it basically mills out the whole deck, or with Dark Depths with either Vampire Hexmage or Thespian Stage, and make a 20-20 attack. The reason these two combos are the ones chosen to go in this deck is because they attack on different lines. So Dark Depths, you fight that with things like Wastelands and Swords to Plowshares, things like that. Whereas Helm Obedience, you require ways of removing artifacts or enchantments generally. So they sort of attack on different lines and attack your opponent's resources. To go along with these things, we've got a bunch of fast mana, so we can win on turn 1 with Helm Obedience, or we can make a turn 1 20-20. Both of those are possible. We have Sheoldred as just a good backup plan. It's a fine creature that can win the game on its own, and it just does a lot of work for us. And we have these two ill-gotten gains, so we can rebuy a combo that's failed and go again. But if we have Lane on the Void in play, our opponent discards their entire hand and doesn't get anything back. So it's a one-sided effect if we have Lane on the Void in play. So this is quite a nice ability to basically mind twist your opponent out of the game. We have 4 Chalice of the Void as a sort of semi-prison element. Between Lane on the Void and Chalice of the Void, you can lock down Delver decks pretty effectively, which is kind of the jam we're going for here. Where the way this build differs from the previous build I played is we've split the Lotus Petals into Chrome boxes. That's the difference between version 3.3 and 3.4, and that's pretty much it. We've got 4 Ancient Tombs to try and power things out ahead of curve, and we've got a lot of basic lands, so we can actually play around Blood Moons and things like that. We've got a couple of Castle Lockthwains in our mana base, which we can definitely support with this many swamps, as well as some Urborgs. We do have 4 Urborgs, so another thing I've been thinking about is whether or not I want Mox Diamond in this deck, and I think that might be a possibility, so maybe we'll do a split between Mox Diamonds and Chrome Moxes next time and see how that feels. Mox Diamond discarding a card means you can also get it back with ill-gotten gains, which is nice. Aside from that, that's pretty much it for the main deck. The idea with this deck is to beat up on Delver and Reanimator or Graveyard strategy decks, generally speaking. Then we look to the sideboard. 4 Plague Engineer. If you need to kill lots of little small creatures, whether they be elves or goblins, Plague Engineer is a good man. Sometimes he'll also be naming Hamster to mess with Minsc and Boo. Sudden Edict. If you need to kill singular large creatures or threat or decks that make a threat and then protect it with counter magic, Sudden Edict is your best friend. If your opponent isn't playing to the board, then attack their hand with Hymn to Torek. And Court of Ambition is like one card combo basically. Against an opponent that's not playing anything to the board, you can play this out and this can just solo them on its own, but even if it doesn't, it's still drawing you a card every turn. So this is a good thing to just ramp into on its own. I've had quite a lot of success with Court of Ambition. I think it's quite good, even though I didn't see many other people playing it really. But I guess this particular deck is a little bit different to the other mono black decks running around, so that would make sense. That's about it for the deck tech, so without any further ado, I'm just going to do a quick little plug before we get into the league. So if you can like, subscribe, comment, really helps. I'm trying to get my subscribers up, but if you like and comment on my videos, it pushes up in the algorithm so more people see it, so hopefully I can get more subscribers. So yeah, just help me out. And also it's nice to hear feedback from you about what you prefer to see, or if you like things done a little bit differently in terms of how I edit the videos, things like that. All right. Let's jump into a league. Match 1, game 1. We are on the play and we have a turn 2 20-20. So I think we are going to keep this hand. So I think we just play out Swamp here. I don't think the Lotus Petal is necessary to play out. I think we'll just pass there. Our opponent is probably going to think that we're the more standard Helm combo deck rather than Helm's Deep. A Mother of Runes. Okay. So Swords to Plowshares and Solitude are things we have to watch out for here. And Wastelands. So because of Wasteland, I'm inclined to make my Vampire Hexmage this turn. So I think we play out the Dark Depths first. I think we make this now for the purposes of Wasteland. I would rather gain 20 life in this matchup than just have my Dark Depths Wastelanded. Also, they have to have the answer here. They have a Krakus. Yep, that's unfortunate. They might even get the bits in. Not even getting the bits in. Okay, so now to reload and try and find a Helm. Chalice of the Void. I think we play out the Chalice of the Void. It only stops 1-drops. So it's only going to stop Vial and Swords to Plowshares, really. And they've already got a Mother of Runes, and they didn't have another 1-drop. So you probably don't need to cast this on 1. We can cast it for 2 next turn, if we need to. And that will stop things like Thalia and Stoneforge Mystic. Sure. So our clock against us is a little bit dicey right now. Kill us in 4 turns. That gets reduced when we use our Ancient Tomb. So we can copy our opponent's Caracas if we want to. We can copy a basic Swamp to make sure we can cast a Doughty Voidwalker next turn, but the Doughty Voidwalker doesn't really impact this board very much. So we're going to take 5 this turn. Yep, so that's 5 taken. An Ether Vial, sure, doesn't really matter until it gets up higher. By the time this becomes relevant, we'll be dead to this anyway. I would like another Swamp, please. This means we can cast black spells. Or we can have a Castle Lochthwain. We'll play this out. We can play the Chalice on 1 here as well, I think. This gets our hand empty so that we might be able to draw off the Castle Lochthwain. And so we'll be able to see 1 more card. Ah, the person in chat is a fan of the channel. That's nice to see. It's finally getting somewhere. With the channel rather than the game, to be honest. This game is not going so well. But we can just draw Helm of Obedience and Gandalf can ride into the rescue and save us at Helm's Deep, as is what happens so often with this deck. We can't attack here. We can't block, sorry, because we have Shadow. So we just have to take it. Okay, let's see what we draw this turn. A basic Swamp. That's not really the one I wanted. What is the play here? 5, 6, 7. We might as well attack with the Doughty Voidwalker. Yeah, the choices are attack with the Doughty Voidwalker or hold it back so that we can get a spell that they cast, but they're not really incentivized to cast any spells right now. So we just play out basic Swamp. So we're going to take 2 from our Castle Lochthwain this turn. Oh, they have a Batterskull. We are dead on board. I think we can concede that one. Alright, so our opponent has creatures. We have some anti-creature spells in our sideboard here. Of varying kinds. The Chalice of the Void is not amazing here, especially in the face of the fact that this would normally like protect against Swords to Plowshares, but our opponent also has Caracas and Wasteland and Solitude, because they're the 6-card Yorion. So we can probably trim on some of our pieces here for at least the Dark Depths combo. Because the Dark Depths combo feels the weaker of the things that we can do here. We want our fast mana, so we want to accelerate out an ill-gotten gains if we have a leyline in play. We can take out 2 lands here. That still leaves us with 24 plus all this mana. So that's fine. But I don't think we can take out any more than that, considering the things we want to keep in. We're probably just shaving on Hex Mages. Yeah, this will be fine. This is a matchup where you can turn 1 them and they don't really have any interaction if you've got... Well, they're not going to have a graveyard with this hand, but we don't really have anything else going on, so I think we should mulligan to find something that does a bit more. Okay. I like this one. I think we're probably throwing back the Castle Lochthwain here, which could be risky given our opponent's a Wasteland deck, but they are 80-card Wasteland deck. So we can Dark Ritual out our Doughty Voidwalker this turn, but I don't think we have to. A Caracas. Sure. A Mother of Runes. Okay, so now we can Ancient Tomb and play our Plague Engineer on humans. Let's have the guy. Human, please. Goodbye, Mother of Runes. So play Spirit of the Labyrinth. We can hit that as well with our Plague Engineer. Oh, Wasteland. So we're going to lose our Ancient Tomb, probably. But it means our opponent doesn't have a threat in play. A Dark Ritual. Okay, so given that we have the Dark Ritual... Oh, we're getting Swords to Plowshares. Sure. I think we can cast this for Doughty Voidwalker. And we have a threat. We also have the ability to Plague Engineer out human again. Mother of Runes? Sure. So we get to kill this one as well. Alright, so we're ahead on board. Our opponent has 4 cards in hand though. We're doing okay, I would say. This can certainly change. Okay, Lion Sash. That doesn't seem particularly potent right now. Let's go to combat. Anything going into their graveyard is going into my Doughty Voidwalker instead. So we get them for 5 this turn, and then we play this out. It can be wasteland bait. We kind of want them to attack our land here so that they're not committing to the board. Stoneforge Mystic, sure. This is probably going to get a Batter Skull because of how far behind they are in the race. They can't win with the Cauldron complete. Anumazawa's Jitte, okay. That's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? A Sudden Edict. Interesting. I'll attack with all creatures here. Kind of hoping they block here and I could snag the Stoneforge. Sudden Edict is always hitting one of these creatures, isn't it? They're never letting their Stoneforge be the one that gets hit here. Okay, although maybe maybe it is. Maybe I should have cast that on my turn so they had to sack the Lion Sash, because this way they can sack the Stoneforge if they want to. Get split second. So they don't get to... Yep, so they have to sack their Lion Sash because they can't just put the Stoneforge in response. But now the Jitte is not good enough, so I don't really know what their plan is here. If they have something that's not a Jitte. They have a Batter Skull. Yikes. Okay, we do have a Death Toucher, but they can just do the trick. Okay, so I think at this point... Oh, what have we got in exile, actually? A Mother of Runes. So we'll play out this Leyline of the Void. We go to attacks. So we can force them to have to bounce and do this, which just buys us more turn to hopefully draw into Helm of Obedience. We can't draw into Dark Depths combo because of Caracas. What we can do is we can use a Doughty Voidwalker to get a Mother of Runes, and then just constantly give our Plague Engineer protection. I have to assume our opponent's attacking here. I think we have to block. So this will give them 4 life. But if they don't have another land... Well, they need 3 mana to bounce this and then another turn to do it. So they're going to be doing... Oh, Flicker Wisp is real bad for us, though. They just get to blink the Batter Skull. So we're in a bit of trouble here. Yikes. Let's see what we can do. A Thespian Stage. So this makes a Dark Depths. But that's not very helpful. But it can also copy our opponent's wasteland and give us a wasteland that we can use in case we draw the other, in case we draw a Dark Depths piece. So I think we need the Mother of Runes. So we take the hit this turn and this can block this for indefinitely. It's not great, but we're just buying turns at this point. Our opponent is incentivized to wasteland our Dark Depths because we can wasteland their Caracas. But they might just want to wait until we have a thing. But because we are hellbent right now, they know that they can definitely hit the Dark Depths if they want to. So this is going to take out the Leyline, which is going to stop us from drawing the Helm of Obedience. No, it took out the Mother of Runes. Okay, so Helm of Obedience for the win. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then next turn it's 10. So we'll be dead on the turn after. Not ideal, but this would be a perfect time to draw a Helm of Obedience. An absolutely perfect time to draw a basic swamp and then die. Sad times. Alright. Not a great start to the league, but let's crack on to game 2. Or round 2 even. We're on the play for game 1 of round 2. I don't think our hand is really up to scratch here. So I think we should mulligan. This hand doesn't look great. Like, it's a turn 1 Doughty Voidwalker. And then we kind of have half of all of our combos and the mana to do it, which isn't necessarily terrible. But if they answer our Doughty Voidwalker, we're not really going anywhere. I think I will keep this one. And I think we will pitch the Dark Ritual there. Get some Lotus Petal going. Give ourselves a turn 1 Doughty Voidwalker. So this should just hands down beat a reanimated deck. Or a dredge deck. Our opponent's comment in the chat makes me suspect that they are playing one of those two decks. Okay. So I don't think our opponent was very happy with how that panned out. So yeah, we don't really know what we're doing, but we know we're keeping Graveyard Hate. Cool. Do we want anything else for this matchup? Okay, if they are reanimated, they might Thoughtseize us and take those. So we're better off just having a couple of those just in case. Or we can have HELM'S. No, we want the HELM'S in case they're playing Show and Tell. So I think we can probably board out a Thespian Stage, a couple of Thespian Stage for him to Turax just in case they are playing Show and Tells and they're a reanimated deck, which is the most popular graveyard deck that isn't Delver. We will keep this. Our opponent appeared to be very unhappy with this situation. Our faith is looting. So our opponent is looking for Serenity, among other things. So if they have Serenity, then it will blow up both of our things. But if they don't have Serenity, this stops them looking for more. A Lotus Petal, sure. Another Lotus Petal. So if they cast Show and Tell, we get to untap and win the game. Looks like that's what's happening. Sure. We can discard. Okay, so we have the match there. That was a quite quick one. Our opponent was not the most pleasant swearing in chat like that, but there we go. All right, 1-1. Let's go into round 3. So we're on the play for round 3, game 1. This is our opening hand. I don't particularly like it, so I'm going to mulligan it. This hand is a turn 2 Vampire Hex Mage, so we will keep this. And we have to get rid of 1 card, so we're going to get rid of our redundant Urborg. And say go. So what we're going to do here is start out with a Chalice for 0, just in case our opponent is playing a Storm deck, because that can beat us on turn 1. And then we have a choice of whether we play out the Dark Depths or the Urborg. I think we'd rather have a Dark Depths, because we might be more dependent on black mana going forward. A Boseiju. Okay. A Green Sun Zenith. So this is a Dryad Arbor. Our hand doesn't really go anywhere if we don't make this. We have to play around Wasteland. So I think we will just pop this now. We can get punished, obviously. But I think we just have to present it here, because if we look at what the rest of our hand does, the other thing we can do there is play a Doughty Voidwalker or just leave the Hex Mage on board. I don't think either of those is particularly strong. There we go. A 20/20 is strong though. So our opponent is either playing Elves or one of these sort of what would you call them? Orcs, I think they call them, right? So it's like the Fiend Artisan with only minimal amount of elves in. So they're playing a creature deck, most likely. They could be playing Depths themselves, is the other option, which means all these will be good. Question is, what will not be good in this matchup? Chalice on the draw is not going to be good, I don't think, so we can trim that. How useful is the Shouldered going to be realistically? I think if we end up playing a scrappy game, the Shouldered is actually going to be quite good here. I think it's probably worth keeping that. Because we're cutting the Chalices, we can probably trim the Mox. And then we're left with 2 more cuts. I think maybe we're just trimming. See, Thespian Stage is going to be good if they are Adepts deck themselves. Not sure how good. If they are Elves, though, we want the Plague Engineer for sure. The Ill-Gotten Gains combo is just very nice to just mind twist our opponent out of the game. I think maybe we're trimming a Hex Mage and a Depths. Or maybe we're trimming 2 Depths in case our opponent is a Thespian Stage deck. And then we can reappraise the situation later. So we're kind of boarding as if there are lots of different things because we didn't see that much of their deck. This hand does a thing. We're going to be needing a black source of mana, though, if we keep this hand. We do get 2 draw steps to look for it, though. So I think we can just about keep this. Because we have the thing for Elves. We have the thing to shut off Loam. I think we're okay here. We have a lot of mana that if we just top deck a Helm, we just win immediately. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Once upon a time. This is more likely to be Elves. But we'll get more information when our opponent reveals. Forest. Okay. That doesn't help us. But this might. A Birch Range. Okay. So they are Elves. What do we do here? I don't think I want to play the Plague Agent out this turn. I think I want them to commit another thing to the board, which might be slightly greedy, but I think, because this is Birch Law, I think that's okay to do. This is the one I care least about getting wastelanded right now, if that's the thing that happens. So we'll pass like this. And then next time we'll try and clean up 2 or 3 L's with this Plague Engineer. So our opponent has to commit to the board. They can't just not do that. Green mana. I hope it's a 1/1 elf. It is a 1/1 elf. A Cradle. Okay, this is a pretty good turn for them if they want to... Oh, no, they're just getting in for damage. Alrighty then. Okay, back to us. And what do we draw? A Swamp. A Swamp is a very nice draw here. I think either way we're using the Petal this turn, aren't we? So let's play this out. That's black. Black, black. Once upon a time for our opponent, they're using the mana from their Cradle whilst they still have it, because their Cradle is going to get shut off for their next turn until they play some more creatures. A Wirewood Symbiote. Okay. We will name Elf. We will pick up a nice 2-for-1. And then if we can draw another one of these and put on Insect, that's pretty much a lock until they can remove our creatures then. So the forest will be gone, so there's a Symbiote we knew about. And there's another Symbiote. Another Plague Engineer would be very good here. I think I'll probably even get the concession. But we have to draw it. Okay, we did not draw it. I think we play out a first striker. I don't want to... We could trade our Plague Engineer for 2 of their Symbiotes. But I think in this situation they have to clear their Plague Engineer before they can do the thing that their deck does. So it's best just to keep the Plague Engineer back. Now if they have enough insects, then maybe we have to start attacking with the Plague Engineer. Green Sun Zenith for 2. Is this going to be a Collector Roof to shut off our Helm of Obedience kill? It could be. Or it could just be an Elvish Visionary as a cantrip. It's a Dryad Arbor. Okay. Oh no, sorry, it couldn't be a... Yeah, it could have been a Visionary. So they spent all that mana just for that one card. That seems alright to me. And then it gets to be our turn. Let's see what we draw. It's not a Helm of Obedience. It's a basic Swamp. Go to attacks. Oh yeah, let's get some damage in. It's first strike, so it's not going to do them any use. This also shuts off Grist as a line. Because Grist Destroy thing, they have to put the ability from the Planeswalker on the stack, and then when it resolves they sack a guy. So I can then... well, I can kill the Grist, but they will get the chance to sack a guy, I suppose. Let's see what we draw. At some point we can draw a Helm of Obedience and it'll be glorious. Or we can draw another Plague Engineer. Either of those puts this game away, I think. But we have to draw one of them before our opponent gets out of this. They need black mana, I think. Okay, so that gives them black mana so they can cast a Grist if that's the thing they have. Alternatively, they can just wait and cast a Natural Order with these guys. So getting another Dryad Arbor here. A Thespian Stage. Sure, I guess we can play that out. We need to stop drawing lands, would be where I want to be for this. Okay, so we've hit them for some damage and then pass a turn. So I assume this gets a Dryad Arbor. Yeah. So if they have a Natural Order, they can sack one of these and all their creatures get +4/+4 and trample. So that'll probably be enough to kill us. Not that I've done the maths. Natural Order. Yep, it looks like the play that I said would happen is going to happen. And there's a Crayhoof. So how big are their guys? So this is 15 plus 9, which is 24. So we are dead if they all turn sideways, which I assume they're going to do. Yeah, we will concede. Let's have a look. Oh, the next card. Never look, I guess. All right, we're 1 card away. So now we know they're on elves. The Chalice is better. And how important is this shoulder? I don't think... No, is the shoulder that important? It does get some work done. The Dark Depths kill is also fine here. Sudden Edict we still have to keep because we just need a density of removal. We can board in the Hymn to Turax here. Just attack our opponent's hand as well. Shouldered is just a really good threat that sits in play. Maybe we board out stages now that we know. We still want these 2 though. I think having the Ill-Gotten Gains is better than having the Hymn to Turax. So we just need to trim here. We want to be able to combo them quickly with the Hex Mage. So I think that's worth keeping in. Is it the Shouldered? I think it might be the Shouldered here. Rely on our other combos to do the work. What does this hand do? It requires some more mana. But we have a lot of mana in our deck. So we can play this out. And we can make a Plague Engineer on 2. Alternatively, if we draw an Ancient Tomb or something like that on our next turn, then we can just kill our opponent. Or if we draw another Dark Ritual. Sure. If we draw 1 land, we can Mind Twist our opponent. And then follow up Plague Engineer. Which is probably going to be good, I would imagine. A Nettle Sentinel. Sure. So a land is going to be very good for us here. We have a land. So I think the correct play here is to Mind Twist our opponent. So that was for black. Play 1, cast Ill-Gotten Gains. So I would like to have my Plague Engineer, my Challenge to the Void, and my Helm of Obedience. Pretty filthy. They do know all the cards in their hand. Okay, they're just going to scoop to that. Alright, so we got the sort of backup combo of Ill-Gotten Gains, Leyline the Void. Alright, that sounds good. Let's go to round 4 now. We're 2-1 and we're smashing through this at super quick time. So this is our opening hand. We're on the draw for round 4. What does this hand do? It makes a Downfall Voidwalker on turn 2 or a Challenge to the Void on turn 2. Then doesn't really go anywhere from there. But if we have the mana, we can kill them in a couple of turns. So I think we can keep this. We're a bit cold to Wasteland, but I think this is fine. We're on the draw, so we get another card into our deck as well. A Basic Plains, an Esper Sentinel. Okay, so this could be a number of different decks, but it could be the White Painter that is so near and dear to my heart. I think we play out the Thespian Stage. Next turn we play out the Doubthy Voidwalker. The turn after, if we draw another land, we Helm of Obedience kill them. And there's a Saga. This is definitely looking a lot like Painter, the Mono White Painter. Okay, yeah, this looks like my Grindstone Forge deck that I play online quite often. So this is going to get called a complete. Hammer of Design. Okay, so it's hammer time. Okay. Let's just read this hammer. So it automatically equips. Whenever this or another equipment enters the battlefield. Okay. Looks pretty good. So if we play out our Doubthy Voidwalker this turn, we are relying on drawing a land for the kill next turn. But our opponent's clock is going to be quite quick. So I think that's the best thing to do. So if we draw a land or a Lotus Petal or a Dark Ritual, so the majority of the cards in our deck win us the game next turn. And that also happens before the Urza Saga can Pith and Needle us. Our opponent can't kill us this turn, if my math is right, but they can do a lot of damage to us. Okay. They're just holding back. Interesting. They might just be making a token here. Okay, so we drew an Urborg, which isn't the one we necessarily wanted here. I think we'll go to attacks, because that will flush out if they have a removal spell or not for this. If they don't kill it, they probably don't have a removal spell. And we'll play black. Get this one. You can have your card. We've got more important things to do. Okay, so we got the kill there. So our opponent's playing Hammer Time. So that is a deck where Sudden Edict is very good. Chalice on the play is good. Chalice on the draw. I think Chalice is still good, actually. Full stop. Plague Engineer can sweep up a lot of their little mitty men. Do we want the Hymn to Thorax? I'm not sure we do. So we've got all these cards here. I think this game is going to be too slow for Shouldered. So I think we can take those out. The ley lines aren't good, but they are part of our combo. So that's always an awkward one. I think we're probably going to be too slow for Thespian Staging here, so we can board out 2 of those. I'm not sure how good the Dark Depths kill is going to be altogether, actually, so probably board out a couple of Dark Depths to go with it. And then we probably have to board out some Hex Mages as well. We're just trying to wombo our opponent, and we can sort of nickel and dime them with the little guys once we get rid of their things. Alright, we'll keep this. This opening hand is not ideal. We can turn to Plague Engineer, which is okay, but I think we can do better. I think this is better. Leyline isn't that good, but the Chalice is so impactful here. So when I've been playing the Hammer deck, it's so hard to beat a Chalice on 1 often. Okay, so they're going to get another spell here if they want it. Nope. Okay. Okay, that's nice. I think we do this first. This cuts off Sigarda's aid. It does give them a card, but that's just how it is. But this cuts off Sigarda's aid for them. It cuts off casting Colossus Hammers. It cuts off quite a lot of stuff. And their deck is quite low to the ground. They can still hit us with Stoneforge though. So what is this? A human soldier. Pure Steel Paladin. Paladin is a knight, I think. So I think we're best off naming human with our Plague Engineer. Black. We'll take 2 for this. Human. I'll clear the Sentinel. So if we draw a Helm of Obedience, we can win the game, provided our opponent doesn't have something in their hand like a Disenchant. Probably March by the Worldly Light. Oh, they do have a Disenchant right now. Okay. So that's unlocked their hand a little bit. Urza Saga. So they can play an Urza Saga game from next turn. They don't have any plays right now. That's interesting. Swamp. Do I want the Swamp? No, I want this Urza Saga. Let's do that. Let's have our own Urza Saga. And we can turn it off, so we can just turn it into a factory that just keeps making guys. Because we can copy a different land after it's got the text for making constructs. Because we don't really want to fetch up one of our 0 mana artifacts. It's not going to be the most exciting thing. Okay, so they've got some Urza Sagas going on too. So they got 2 Urza Sagas, and we've got 1 like permanent Urza Saga factory. This will be 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be quite big. Like we can play an engineer on construct. It doesn't seem that exciting. I think we just hold this and we take a hit from the first one, because this currently can only tap for mana. So we need to wait for it to gain the ability. Sure. So this is going to be a 3-3, and then it'll be a 4-4 when they make a guy in their turn. And then it'll be a 5-5 when they go and fetch. They're swordsing our creature. Yep. It's a little bit unfortunate. We're a little bit behind, but again, we can draw our Helm of Obedience and win the game at any point. So this is going to make them a 4-4, and then they're going to have a 5-5. And then they might even have some more stuff to go with it. If this goes and gets them just a mock... I guess it can't get them a Mox Opal because they need to tap this first. Could get them a Lotus Pet if they have them. Retrofitter's Foundry. Okay. Sure. We can take a big chunk here. Ouch. Helm Obedience? It was not Helm Obedience. But now this has the ability we want. So we need 2 mana. So we need 3 mana to make a Plague Engineer. Yeah, so I think we're burning our Dark Rituals this turn. And we will pay so they don't get to cast. So this gives us 3 mana. This will let us cast a Plague Engineer. But then we also want to be able to do this. I think we cast this as well. There we go. Plague Engineer. Human. Get rid of this. And then we can make this copy. We can make this with our black mana. And then we wait on this. And we use this to copy a swamp. And then we can just pump out Urza Saga tokens ad infinitum. Obviously, our opponent's going to be Retrofitter's Foundering. But the idea is that we stall our opponent until we can do something about what they're presenting us. Now, if we get in a really horrible situation, we might have to copy... They could get a Pithing Needle here and copy and hit our Urza Saga. Because they don't have any more. I think we have to... They can just name whatever we make here. I think we just make it... we have to just make a guy this turn, I think. Because they can name whatever we turn it into. If we turn it into something else there, we may as well get the guaranteed chump blocker for a turn, which will buy us a turn. Okay, they didn't. They got the Shadow Spear. Shadow Spear is not great for us. Again, we can still draw a Helm of Obedience. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this can go and find us a 0-drop for the 5th mana. So I think we're okay. Not great, but okay. Sure, so grabbing the Shadow Spear on this guy. So they got a 10-10 with lifelink. So we go to blocks. This one blocks here. This one blocks here. So we're going to take 8 from this and go to 1. Okay, so Helm of Obedience wins us the game. Let's go. Dark Depths. Problem is, this is going to sacrifice now. I think we are just dead. So we'll get Let's Power. Not that the 2020 would help us here. We've got anything good in our opponent's exile that we can use? No. So I think we are just dead here. Okay, let's begin sideboarding. I'm kind of inclined to bring in some Hymn to Torax here. And they have Source of Plowshares for our Dark Depths combo. Is it worth just saying no to the Dark Depths combo altogether? We know they have Disenchants as well. It's a tricky one. 2 stage, 2 depths. Because we have the Chalice, we can't really drop any of our fast mana. Plague Engineers are medium here. They're okay though, aren't they? Maybe okay is good enough. Maybe we are dropping these. Just dropping the Dark Depths combo altogether. Because they probably have Karakas in their deck as well. Let's just be really hateful. Okay, this is not Keeper. This definitely requires me to draw land if I want to keep this hand. But we could just Hymn to Turret them out of the game. We have so many lands in our deck. Is this one good enough? Or do you want a 5 with the Chalice? I think we want a 5 with the Chalice. That's not a Chalice. I think we have to keep this though. So we have Swamp, Lochthwain, Voidwalker. So we get rid of an Urborg. And then I think we just have to trust in the heart of the cards. And keep it like this. This gives us the most business that we can do. I think we beat one Urza Saga that last game, perhaps, but not two. An Urza Saga, okay. The best card in our opponent's deck. We got a follow-up, a Retrofitter's Foundry, sure. And an Ornithopter, that's pretty bad. Sudden Edict. So I've been playing the Hammer deck a little bit, and I haven't found it to be great for Legacy, to be perfectly honest. Play this out. Just get this Stealthy Voidwalker online. So this makes a Servo, and then it makes a Thopter. Okay, so just straight up Source of Plowshares on our guy. This one's going to be difficult to come back from, I think. We could have kept a 6-card hand and risked it and hope that we drew a mana source, like a permanent mana source, but it's a bit sketchy. Yeah, so they've got cracks in their deck, so we definitely don't want to be trying to play the Dark Depths game, I don't think. Surely they just want to make tokens here. It feels like their best plan. This is Construct. So what we do is we Sudden Edict in response to the Urza Saga activation. I think that's the best thing we can do this turn. No more 4/4 Construct. Instead you can have a 3/3 Construct that's going to be a 4/4 Construct. A Colossus Hammer. Have they got a Pure Steel Paladin? If they've got a Pure Steel Paladin, that's pretty bad for us. Sure. So they attack us for 14 this turn. And then we die in the next turn. I think we're just dead. Yeah. Alright. What do we have here? Ill-gotten gains. It's not really where we're at right now. So I think we name Human. That means we only take 1 damage from this because this has to go under the bus here. We do get to trade with a Construct token, but then they get to move the hammer across to the Paladin. Now what they can do if they're smart is move the hammer across and then make a token, right? So make a token. 1, 2. Yeah. So they should have just moved the hammer across and made a token. They'd have 2 lethal threats here. So I think they've misplayed. It's not going to matter. We're going to lose this game. But let it be known. Alright. Another Plague Engineer. Okay, I'll take another Plague Engineer. And this will name Servo. Like, I don't know how we win this game necessarily. We kind of have to brick wall our opponent for a number of turns. So this means they can't attack us with a 2/2 and a massive guy and force through damage. They should have killed us last turn, so they've made a misplay, and they've given us possibly 2 draw steps, maybe more. Who knows? Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, this is going to be a. Let's just get the one that gives them. Okay, I thought they were just going to get the thing that gives them trample, the Shadow Spear, because that would be lethal. So that's another mistake, right? Wow, okay, our opponent has punted twice now. We're still going to lose. A Dark Ritual. Does this change anything? I think we Dark Ritual out the ley line here. That means if we draw a land, we can Ill-Gotten Gains there. Oh, we've tapped the mana slightly wrong. Yes, we have 1 mana up here. So, yeah. So next time we might be able to Ill-Gotten Gains and get back Plague Engineer and a sudden edict. A disenchant. Okay, sure. We can't do that. Ill-Gotten Gains now is not a game we can play right now. So what do we need here? Okay, so putting the Colossus Hammer on this guy. And putting the Paradise Mount on that guy. There's the Shadow Spear. Okay, so they could have done... Oh, if they had that in hand, they should have just played it and won the game. If they didn't, they could have fetched it and won the game. Sure. So our opponent misplayed multiple times that game, but we still lose. Our deck was not kind to us. We mulled to 5. Sometimes it happens. And yeah, didn't quite thread the needle there. All right, on to the final round. This is a difficult one. Like, we need a black source. I want the play, though. I think we can do better. That's mulligan. That's better. If we draw another black source, we can Dark Depths on 2. I think we just get rid of the Chrome Mox, actually. So done. I value Leyline too highly in the meta game at the moment. Like, especially in game 1, it's just such a... Oh, okay, our opponent has revealed a Chancellor. Our opponent is a Reanimator deck, most likely. So this Leyline is going to wreak havoc with them in game 1. I'm not sure they can necessarily win. Like, eventually they can draw enough lands and Dark Rituals to power out their guys. But they might just be dead to the Leyline here. A Lotus Petal, sure. Oh. Okay, they aren't a Reanimator deck, or... At least if they are, they're a weird build because they've got Emeria's Call in their deck. So the secret here is not to play my Vampire Hexmage out into their Force Spike. We could have played Dark Depths and then next turn, if we drew an Urborg, we'd be alright. But my opponent is playing some weird things. I don't really want to expose my lands to potential wastelands because I have no idea what's in my opponent's deck. A Plateau. I still have no idea what's in my opponent's deck. Archon of Emeria. Okay, so it's a bit like some sort of stompy type list. So this turn, I think we play out the Castle Locthwain. We can play one spell a turn. I think we just play out the Dark Depths Hexmage next turn around the Chancellery Annex. Now our opponent is definitely giving me the impression they might have a Source of Plowshares in their deck. But whether or not they have it in hand remains to be seen. And also, what choice do we necessarily have right now? So I think we play this one out. Play with our black mana. And I'm more worried about Wasteland or Archon of Emeria. You're probably not playing Wasteland in a deck with Archon of Emeria, right? Right? I think we do it now. I think all the things that get us can get us regardless. I don't think having a 2-1 first striker in play is good. Like, they're either going to have the swords or not. And I suppose we'll find out in the very near future. A Solitude. Okay, so we got 2 for 1. Getting rid of that Chancellor. And we gain 20 life. So we've got a lot of time to draw into Helm of Obedience. Okay, our opponent's deck has got some pretty curious stuff going on. Doesn't look like a traditional Stompy deck. And they're tapping for blue here. Caves of Chaos Adventure. Okay, so that may not be the quickest now, because the initiative is not necessarily the fairest mechanic ever made. So if you're not familiar with this, they basically put 2 counters on their guys next turn. They dome me for 5, they draw a card, and then they look at the top 10 cards of their library, get a guy, give it haste, a load of counters. It's pretty OP. And once the new initiative cards that have gone up on Magic Online are available, I will be playing some of those decks myself. A Vampire Hexmage. It can chump block, not very well against a Trampler, but it can save me 1 point of damage, and it can also... so playing these ones out because they come in tapped. Or maybe we should have played out the Ancient Tomb in case you draw the Helm of Obedience. Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah, but if they attack with everything, we might be able to attack back and steal the initiative. Not that it does us much good, it just gets us a land. This can remove the counters as well. That's the thing that I need to do. This is a 3-turn clock. I can reduce that, or I can keep the fact that I've got a guy that might just give me a 20-20 next turn. I think we just have to take the 9 and go to 27. Okay, if they're playing everything out here, White Adventure. Yeah, so this is the one that's just come to Magic Online that isn't available. Isn't available on the site that I get my cards from. So this pushes them into Trap, which domes us for 5. Oh, they're going to goad my Vampire Hex Mage. I see. Don't see that mode very often. So they get to untap one of their big guys. Or that guy, doesn't really matter which guy for them. Thespian Stage, is this useful for us? I don't think so. That's Tomb. We'll just reduce their clock, and we're just in the can we draw Helm Obedience game. Fun times. Okay, so they're getting to draw a card. Coming up for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then next turn, depending on what they find off of the final mode, they might be able to... it doesn't gain haste though, right? It gains hexproof until your next turn. Okay. So they can't kill us next turn either. So we get 2 draw steps in theory. Well, it depends what they have in their hand right now. Okay, so this is probably going to kill us next turn, right? We'll see what they get. And then we can work out if we need to draw with the Castle Lockthwain to try and hit Helm. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have enough mana to play around. No, this is plus 2 mana cost, isn't it? Yeah. So we 1, 2. Helm of Obedience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's just work out how much damage this is. 10, 6. Okay, yeah. So we have to draw with Castle Lockthwain this turn. We kind of need something that wasn't that, really. Sure, you can untap one of your guys. And we've just drawn lands. Sure. Okay, so they're sort of the Stomping. I'm not really sure of the Chancellor. That's not one I've seen in these builds, and I don't think it's actually that great, to be honest. So the Sudden Edict is going to be good here. The Chalice doesn't look like it's going to do a lot. So that's a relatively straight swap. The only thing the Chalice will do is stop a Swords to Plowshares, but our opponent has got Solitudes as well. Now, we maybe want him to Turek our opponent a little bit, or Plague Engineer just as a guy. But I think our best situation here is to submit as is and try and go fast. I think the initiative decks are the best Stompy deck available in Legacy right now. Okay, this is fine. We can keep this. We need a little bit of mana. But we have a turn 3 kill. Our opponent's mull to 6. Now, they might be a Chalice deck themselves. Okay, they're mull to 5. So our Sudden Edict for whatever their first threat is going to be quite good. This can always take back the initiative. Gemstone Caverns. I haven't seen one of those for a long time. And they gave up a mountain to do that with, did they? Okay. So if our opponent plays a creature that has... so plays one of these, we're going to Doughty Voidwalk and Sudden Edict our opponent on our turn. And that should be good, because then we get to take back the initiative on the following turn. Does mean we use our Dark Ritual, but that's fine. No more White Plume Adventurer. So next turn I get to take the initiative, which gets me a land first, which is the first one. So they probably scry 2 with the Lost Well on this one, I think. Yeah. Makes sense. But if they can't make a creature, we're in pretty good shape here. We can turn off the coloured mana on this if they don't play a coloured source, although they did fetch. What do they fetch off that? They fetched the planes anyway. So it's not likely to be a good play. We may as well keep this in case we draw a Dark Depths. Let's see what we have here. Do we get to get initiative here? A Ganjo. Wowzers. Wowzers trousers. Sure. Guess we're playing this one. So what's the next one? Stash is treasure token, I think. Or they can do the middle one, which is goad, which probably isn't what they want to do. Because I want to be attacking anyway. But it might be. We'll see. We can't let them hit the bottom side, where they get the top 10 cards of their library, because all the things they get out of that are huge and probably have the initiative. I have to imagine our opponent's playing Seasoned Dungeoneer, because that's one of the best ones. Okay. Oh, so they're goading, so they're playing a creature this turn. I see. An Anointed Peacekeeper. That is a creature. So a Sudden Edict would be very nice. That's probably among my best draws. I assume we got in hand. They're probably going to name Helm of Obedience, I would imagine. They might name Sudden Edict. That would probably be the heads-up play here. Because that's the way they lose the game here. No. Thespian Stage. Those will cost 2 to activate, so we just have to remove all characters from this permanent. They know our hand anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we keep up. So remove the luck counter so they don't have as much coloured mana sources. But it's getting a little dicey for us. Yeah, so I think this is probably one of the most powerful white creatures printed for a very long time. I think the ability to, like, the Undercity is just incredibly strong, and it's very hard to beat. Sure, we're probably going to lose to this. Yeah. So all of their guys have got Vigilance now as well, because of this. And we've got Gains doesn't do anything. We can't cast Vampire Hexmage. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, right, on this one. And then we have one more draw step. I think we're just dead. I think we have to pack it up. Yeah, so this is the deck that I've wanted to play this week, but I can't, well, a better version than that. I don't think that version is particularly optimal because it's got Chancellors in. All right, let's go and have a look at the deck again. So we came away with a 2-3, which is, I think it's the worst record we've ever had with this deck. The changes that we made to it in terms of the Chrome Mox didn't really make any difference. I think part of the issue with this deck sometimes is that you have a lot of moving parts and sometimes they don't line up very well. So, you know, sometimes you get halves of combos and not the other half. Now, whilst that sometimes lets you win games you were sort of down and out with, it sometimes means you lose games where you just draw badly. And we mulligan quite hard this league. Again, that's kind of the nature of the deck. I think the Stompy deck, if we're not beating it in the first couple of turns, we're probably losing the game anyway. Like they mulled to 5 and then went to 4 because of they had to discard a card. So basically they were down to a 4-card hand and still just beat us because of how powerful the Undercity is. I think it's very strong. So how do I feel about this deck today? Feels like it needs more business sometimes. One of the new cards I want to try out is Black Market Connection, which has just come to Magic Online, but the place I rent my cards from doesn't have it yet, so I couldn't play that. That's the sort of thing that if you can get early, you can just churn out guys and draw cards, and it kind of smooths the rest of what your deck's doing quite nicely. And it's like a very good turn 1 play of Dark Ritual. But yeah, maybe Sideboard needs some more answers for bigger guys. Like, I guess we do have the split seconds here, because basically when we got beaten in the last 2 rounds, we kind of got beaten by not being able to remove the guys, really. Well, in the last game we just got beaten by the Undercity, really. But against like the Hammer deck, they had some bad guys to go with their like big guys who couldn't really suddenly eat it profitably. So maybe with the introduction of all those new Stompy cards, with the new expansion and the new update online, we probably need, maybe we need less of this sort of Court of Ambition and more just like point and click removal spells. Maybe that would help us out a little bit more. Or even some sort of sweeper, like Toxic Deluge is always quite a nice one. I think with this deck probably has to adjust to the changing metagame now. I think White Stompy or Winota Stompy or Red-White Stompy without Winota, I think those decks are tier 1 sort of thing at the moment. Like outside of Delver, I don't think there's anything that's on the same sort of level, to be honest, right now. Doomsday as well is up there. You sort of got Delver, yes, it is the best deck, and then sort of underneath that, I think you've got Doomsday and Green White Depths, and I think the new white-based Stompy decks are just going to go right up there because Archon of the one that makes all your lands come in tapped is so backbreaking for a lot of decks as well, and it gives them the time to beat down the combo decks, especially since they can jam it on turn 1. So I think with that in mind going forward, we're going to have to make some tweaks to this deck. We could also just try a more dedicated Helm deck. Might give that a go. Maybe try the Suspend Tutor, which I think is quite good. All right, I think that's about it for today. We had some fun games. I enjoyed bits. I enjoyed smashing the elves, played up good. Like this deck, pretty good against elves, I would say, because of Plague Engineer, and you have other removal as well. But we have Plague Engineer, and we have a pretty speedy clock. We also have Chalice, so Chalice plus Plague Engineer is more or less a lock for them. So that was nice, and we managed to make a Reanimator player swear at us in chat, which is always a joy and a pleasure. But yeah, so I think that's about it for today. And if you could subscribe, like, comment, all that sort of stuff really helps me out. I need to get my subscribers up. If you like my content, it pushes up the algorithm, more people see it, more people subscribe, so you can definitely do things to help me out if you don't mind, and it doesn't cost you anything, so I'd be very grateful. And if there's any decks you want to actually see played on this channel, by all means, post something in the comments and reach out to me and I'll see if I fancy it. The worst I can say is no, right? So no harm in asking. Alright, thank you for watching and goodbye.